welcome into another episode of a Colorado Craft Podcast from Mile High Bourbon and Rye. As always, my name is Zach, and I am the host of the show. Today's a little bit different because I don't have James necessarily sitting with me, but we are talking to James McCool of PayDirt DFS. James, thanks so much for joining us today.
Zach, you have such a good voice for this. Like, you really do. Like, your voice is like smooth and you have a good little cadence. It's good. Anyway, I am glad to be here. I've known Zach for a long time. For people who do not know who I am, went to high school with Zach. I grew up in Colorado, lived there for 20 years or so. And yeah, happy to be on the pod and talk a little bit about the things that I have built and talk a little bit about the day-to-day life of the things that I do and just kind of get into it.
Yeah, so we'll jump into all that stuff. Super stoked to talk to you about it, and thanks for the compliment. I think that's the nicest thing I've heard about my voice ever. So hey, that works really well. Hopefully, it's I might have a face for radio, but hopefully the voice for radio works out as well. So
Yeah, well, it's best to have both. It's a package
yeah,
deal.
yeah,
It's a package.
exactly. Awesome. So, format of the show, if you guys are new here and first time checking it out, this is a show where we talk about everything Colorado craft. So, if you're doing anything in Colorado where you're creating something, you're doing something, you're analyzing sports teams across the entire nation, and I assume even maybe worldwide. I don't think I've dove into like soccer and stuff for you, but I would assume that you've got some models on some outside of U.S. sports.
I do, yeah. I actually have like a pretty decent user base out in Germany and a little bit over in the UK. For when they have their, the NFL will send teams over nationally, right? They'll send them over into like I don't know England or wherever they go. Can I cuss on this podcast, by the way? Because I need to know. Is that
Yeah,
yes?
You're all right with it. I mean, I'm
Okay.
not too concerned. It's a podcast that revolves around a lot of whiskey, so I'm not overly concerned of adult related
Oh, I
things.
should have gotten a drink. I have drinks downstairs. I should have done that. That's my bad. I have Maker's Mark in the fridge. Okay, so anyway, back where was I? Yeah, worldwide. I have also people in Australia who use some of my third-party models to build things out for the Australian Football League, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Um, but overall, that probably the main like global one is esports, right? League of Legends and Counter Strike and stuff like that. Things that have more of an offshore books kind of vibe, right? Like we can't really bet much on esports here in the States, but people who are in Korea, people who are in China, people who are in Europe, they have access to better books. They have access to, better options and better line shopping than we do here in the US. So I would say those are probably the big ones. But yeah, most of it is domestic. Most of it is people who are kind of within the DFS and sports betting space. And I do offer nearly every sport. There's only two sports I don't offer. I don't offer MMA and I don't offer NASCAR. You may be asking yourself, James, why don't you offer those sports? And it's mostly because I fucking hate NASCAR and MMA. I just haven't built. I should. I just haven't. So that's kind of like the full offering sheet, I guess.
That's fair. So, I mean, just since you said you haven't built that yet, let's kind of jump into how this started because I know it really started around DFS and not quite as much in the sports betting universe. How did you decide that you were going to start building models to optimize for daily fantasy sports? Like, where did that come from?
Well, Zach, I've always liked math, except for that one year, our junior year, where we had that teacher that was terrible. But
Yeah,
I don't Miss Lejean, Miss Lejean, who
sounds
was it?
right.
It was
Man,
I'm pretty sure it was Miss Lejean, right? She was terrible. She was the
high,
worst.
high school was too far away ago for me to remember names. That sounds correct, but I'm not gonna like stake anything on it.
I keep a good memory of things I hate, so I'm pretty sure it was Miss Lejean. And she was the worst. But I've always liked math. I dropped out of statistics senior year. And that was because Paige had made fun of my handwriting one time on a test and I walked out of class.
Oh,
But yeah, fun fact on that. I don't know if you knew that, but that
I
was
did not.
the end of my statistics career in high school. And now I do statistics all the time. Mostly what it came down to was I was working in small business contracting with my mom and I was building out pricing models for small business contracts.
Okay.
And that was kind of like my main job. And then one of the companies that we worked for had asked me to build kind of what was essentially like an optimizer for companies. So if you had multiple companies that were bidding for a contract, you would have a better chance of getting the contract if you were to take two companies together, find the ones that fit the strengths and weaknesses, mend them together, and then support them as one company, right?
Yeah.
That was just a better way of getting small business contracts. At least 10 years ago it was. And I took that. So that was kind of where I learned how to code. I built my first algorithm in Excel VBA, which for those of you who don't know what Excel VBA is, good. You don't want to know what it is. It's awful. It's like the worst coding language that's ever been created. Um, but it was useful and it was good for me learning how to do that kind of stuff. And then I got more into writing first. So I developed content first. I was writing for free over at one of the big sites named Roto Grinders, still around.
Yep.
Um, and I was writing 15, 16, 17,000 word articles for free. Right? I was just writing it on their blog because I just enjoyed writing. I won Writer of the Month award like 3 times. Then I got picked up by another company. And then that was when I first got introduced into the modeling side of things. The main guy who was doing the models there, I was just really interested in how he was doing everything. And I started trying to build out my own. And it ended up being kind of like my models would clash with the models of the company that I worked for. So eventually it turned out that it just wasn't, conducive to either side anymore.
Makes sense.
So then I ended up leaving there. I started working for DraftKings and doing content and some modeling with them. And then I got picked up by another site. And that was kind of where I really first started, was with a site called Numberball, where I developed a stat for expected home runs, which you'll see expected home run rates everywhere now. I was the first person in our space that I know of to write about it and to create for it. And that kind of jump started everything. So after Numberball, then I started PayDirt. And PayDirt is where I currently am at and what I currently own. And we've had it now for about 5 years and been continuing to build. It started out just being spreadsheets that people could donate to me to use. And then it became a site which had the same spreadsheets on it. And then we went from spreadsheets, and now I know how to build apps, and I'm utilizing databases, and I'm utilizing the whole 9 yards, right? It's evolved into something where it is unrecognizable to what it used to be, which is great. And also, I think that it has been a really cool journey of growth and learning for me as an individual, and just as what my skill set has evolved into, which has been really cool and exciting to do. So that's kind of the full backstory of where I come from, like why I do this and why I started doing this.
Yeah.
But obviously there's a lot of fine details in there that I either chose to leave out or am leaving out because I forgot them. Right. So that's kind of the whole backstory.
Oh, that's really awesome. And I mean, just for anybody who hasn't necessarily checked out the site yet, I will never be a person, I don't think, that can turn a profit on DFS because I have too many biases as it is. And even when but following the models, and I've played a few more games now where it's actually fun for me to do again because I don't just lose my shirt every time I play. So, I definitely see a lot of the value in everything that you've kind of built on there. You
Yeah.
said you started that by, learning the code and learning to code in Excel, learning to kind of build those algorithms, build the optimizations and everything. I know your busy season is about to start with basically every sport that's not baseball coming back and baseball still going. So it kind of walked me through especially when all of the major U.S. sports are going, like the four big ones. What does a day look like? Because are you manually having to adjust a whole bunch of your numbers? Like how do you run the back end of this?
Well, it's fucking chaos, Zach. I'll tell you. when all sports are going, it's chaos. Look, the hardest sport is NBA,
Okay.
by about a country mile, and that's mostly just because in order to model for NBA effectively, you have to not only do you have to have a good understanding of the rotations for every team, you also have to have a good understanding of how minutes distributions work within the positions. You have to have a decent understanding of how top down and Vegas influence affects different things, right? Like you have to have an understanding of the different props that are coming in. And the thing with NBA is that that's changing from about 4 p.m. Eastern, and my entire life is in Eastern, right? Like I'm not
Yeah.
in the Eastern time zone, but my entire life is in the Eastern time zone. Um, at about 4 p.m. Eastern, that's when you start having to care about NBA, because you'll start getting, starting lineups, and you'll start getting
Yep.
injury info, and you'll start getting guys who are in, guys who are out. You'll start getting coaches, you'll start getting all that. And that goes all the way up until what we call lock in the DFS world. And lock is when the games start, which is typically around 7:10 Eastern, right? So it's about 3 hours of having to ingest information and adjust for it. And the hardest part is the last 30 minutes before lock, where you could have, 7, 8 teams that put in their starting lineups, and you have to adjust for all of them in about 4.5 minutes flat for all of them. There will be times when a star player will just suddenly be out for no fucking reason at 6:55 Eastern, and you have 3 minutes to adjust for it, right? And that's hard enough when you're a player. It's super difficult when you are actually trying to run the models for people who want to be playing, right? So my job is I actually have to be in front of the people who want to then make the adjustments to their lineups.
So
So
the
I
game's
have
still got enough time.
Right. So I have 2 minutes maybe to make these adjustments on like a
Yep.
late adjustment. And then the big problem with NBA that's not it, right? Like you have to care about everything after lock happens, because there are still going to be games. There's going to be West Coast games that don't release lineups for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then you still have to wait for adjustments to those games as well. So you have to stay at your computer basically all night. Now, I have help over at PayDirt. The guy who runs the back end pipelines for me for most of the sports is named Arturo Galletti. He's terrific. Yeah, I actually worked with him over at Daily Roto, which was the first company that I worked with. That was the one that picked me up out of Roto Grinders.
Okay.
And Arturo is terrific. He has really helped to make it so we are getting a lot of the information for things like NBA and MLB um, on auto, right? Like auto filling, and we have scripts that run in the cloud to help populate the models and everything like that, right? So he has helped a lot. Before last year, I did have to do all of it manually, and that was just, it took like years off of my life. I'm bald for a reason, Um, it's
Yeah,
just
James was
it
not
was.
bald last time I saw him.
I was not. No, no. I now am, and you can thank NBA DFS for that. Um, but it's pretty brutal during NBA season, and when you pair that with, you have NFL. My Sundays, for instance, during peak season, is I have in the morning I'll have MLB, and then I'll have NHL, and then in the after and then I'll have NBA that I have to run in the morning, right? I have to run all three of those in the morning. And then in the afternoon, I run NHL, right? I have hockey too, because hockey starts back up. So then I
Yep.
have NHL and NBA, and then I have NFL again, right? Because we have Sunday night football. So I have to worry about that again later on in the night. And then after all of those things are done, right, I have esports that I have to run, because esports happen overnight. So I will have from about, I want to say 8 a.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll have things just all day, Sundays. Um, and it is 3 months of just hell. It's hard. So, but the nice thing is, right? I mean, think about teachers, right? Teachers mostly get the summer off.
Yeah.
I mostly get the spring and the summer off, right? Like from about March until September. I'll maybe work, because I do consulting work outside of the stuff that I do for Pater too. So what I always
Okay.
say is I work really hard 3 months a year. And then for the other 9 months, I just kind of do things, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just mostly improvements and maintenance and, tweaks and stuff like that. But I work really hard 3 months a year. I work pretty hard 2 months a year, depending on the things that I need to do. And then, for the other 6, 7 months or whatever, it's not the hardest job in the world. So there's a give and a take, and
Yep.
even though it's hard work, there are a lot of ways to keep my stress levels down now that I have the help that I do, now that I have the data pipelines that I do, now that I have the relationships that I do, now that I have all these different things. But it took, I've been in this industry now for 10 going on 11 years. So it took a long time to build to the point where I now have myself and my life. There were 3-4 years where I basically just didn't exist as a person, right? Because I was so busy with
Yeah.
everything else. And luckily, all those 3-4 years coincided with 2.5 years of Margaret and I being together. Margaret's my wife, and then a half a year of her being pregnant, and then the first year of Damascus's life, where he was basically just a glorified kitten that just slept all the time. And I didn't have to pay much attention to him, right? So those 3 or 4 years coincided with that, and now that he is old enough to wanting to be doing things, I'm thankful that I am in a position where I actually can. So,
Yeah.
but it's hard. It's hard during the busy season. It's 3 months, really really difficult from about October through the end of December. It's pretty brutal.
Yeah, that would make sense. So I know like growing up, obviously, we're both pretty into sports just across the board. Have you found that you've lost like any enjoyment from watching it, or do you think it's grown, kind of stayed level, like just as a fan of the sports?
Kind of that's an interesting question because I think that I appreciate sports in a different way now.
Okay.
Like I was a Panthers fan. Shout out to the Panthers losing to the Broncos when I was over at your apartment and you making fun of me for
Super
it.
Bowl 50.
Yeah.
Thank God you
Um,
didn't see me 2 years earlier because that was a mess.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's we all go through messes, Zach. Yeah, I think that yeah, I used to be a Panthers fan, and um I'm not a Panthers fan anymore, thank God. Bryce Young's the worst, but it's a different appreciation of the way that I ingest sports. Like
Okay.
now I'm more looking at sports as kind of um it's interesting now that I model for it. It's almost like when I watch a sport, I'm watching the test results live, right? Like you would get the test results in school and you would be waiting to see what your score was. And people like you and I, we always aim for excellence. So anything less than great, when we saw what our test score was, it was like, well, I need to do better. And I look at sports a lot of the same way now,
Okay.
uh, where the success and the pride that I feel is not related to any individual team. It's just related to how well I am able to project said sports, right?
Okay.
Um, so it's more tied to the work that I do now and the modeling that I do. But I will say I do still really enjoy the highest level of sports. Like if I could say that there's any one individual set of sports that I can't stand to watch, it's the fucking barn burners. Like it's sports that are like blowouts and the Jets versus the Jaguars on Monday Night Football. It's like, man, I'm not I hate that so much because you watch it and it's like not only am I watching it from a perspective of like, okay, I have to project out this game that has a 37.5 implied total, right? Like
Yeah.
I don't want to do that in the first place. But then you have to watch these teams just make the most illogical decisions. It's a problem that I run into a lot in esports, actually. It's really bad in the NFL, right? In the NFL, coaches are they're just stupid, for lack of a better
Fair.
word. There's a lot of dumb coaches out there.
I mean,
But
the Broncos did have a coach that we were counting down the play clock for him, so I
I
can
mean,
understand some
Nathaniel Hackett was legitimately, you would watch him and the layman could understand, like, this dude sucks at his job.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like legitimately not good at this, at just gesturing wildly into the wind. Like he's just not good.
Yeah.
Um, and then you can watch a coach, like Todd Canales, or however you pronounce his name. I don't know, the offense coordinator for the Bucks now, right?
Okay. Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
for the Panthers. Yeah, he was for the Bucks. Now he's for the Panthers. Like you watch the offenses that he can put together, and he knows his stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can see, and if you put his play calling where you can see that the wide receivers have specific designated jobs and that there are specific areas they're trying to like there's a plan, right?
Yep.
And you place him next to Sean Waldron, who was the OC for the Bears,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And you would watch, you can go back and watch his offense. There were plays where every wide receiver would just run like a 4-yard out.
Yeah.
Like every single one. So the entire defense would just like move 3 yards to the left and like they were covering everything. And it's that kind of stuff I think that I have more of an understanding of and an appreciation of when I watch sports now. I'm kind of more watching for the logical choices that teams are making rather than the plays that individual players are making.
Okay.
And extending that out to the esports part, like it's hard for me to watch. I love watching Counter-Strike.
Okay.
Counter-Strike tournaments are incredible. If you've never watched a Counter-Strike tournament, go watch one. It's edge of your seat content. But like when you watch them, there's this thing called map vetoing that happens before the actual match starts. Okay, so the underdog team, or I don't remember what team bans first, but that there are certain maps that are in rotation. There's like 7 maps that are in rotation. One team bans one map, and then another team bans the next map, and then the third team chooses their map, and then the fourth team chooses their map. Right.
Okay.
So there's a sequence of bans and picks. And the amount of times that I can count that a team would ban their best map or would choose a map that was their opponent's best map, it was infuriating. Like I can't watch the veto process anymore, because you'll look at the data and you'll say, oh, this team has like a 22% win rate on this map and they locked it in for some unknown reason. And you just have to
Jeez.
look at it and you're like, there's no way they have any idea what's going on. Like
Yeah.
it's all just vibes and thoughts and prayers just going on in their coach's head. I have no idea what they're doing. So those are the kind of things I think that I have more appreciation for. When I watch sports, when I watch esports, I have more of an appreciation for the decision making
Sure.
now, because I like player level stuff. I understand all of that down to a T. I understand the variance. I understand everything that goes into that, and like how difficult it can be. But the coaching stuff, the macroeconomic stuff, that's kind of stuff that I look at it and I'm like, there are such easy fixes for this. How are you making these mistakes?
Okay. That's awesome. I actually really appreciate that's a cool shift in viewpoint because especially too being still like fan of specific teams, obviously Broncos, Avs,
Mhm,
Nuggets, and
mhm,
we'll just not even talk about the fourth major sports team in Colorado. Um, as fans of those teams though, like I definitely can see kind of what you're talking about, and I'm gonna have to pay a little more attention to kind of those types of decisions.
mhm,
But I've also found a lot of times I will, and I joined the Locked On Avalanche podcast a little while ago,
mhm,
and I was talking to him about one of the players that he was doing season grades for, and I want to say it was Keaton Middleton, but
mhm.
either way, it was like my gut instinct was not good. I was gonna give him like a D
Yeah,
minus, and then I went back through and I looked at like his NHL Edge stats and his like more of the advanced stat metrics and everything, and I realized he's actually doing solid. Like he's not as bad. It's just a couple of the turnovers make it a little bigger, or a couple of
yeah.
the mistakes that he makes look a little bigger. So how like with all the advanced analytics data that's out there, and I'm assuming it's the same thing on esports, like how much does that influence? How much of that do you have to pull into your models?
All of it. From a short answer, all of it. I also build a lot of my own advanced stats. So
Okay.
I specialize in regressional statistics. So my main edge, my expert thing is that when I'm going to build a model for a sport, the thing that I want to find is what is the piece of regression that people don't take into account enough that says here is a dislocation between the shallow, like the baseline, the visual stats, and what is actually happening underneath, right? So, my main calling card is for something like MLB, for instance. I have a stat called true average, which takes into account the regression that a pitcher is expected to have that will lead them back to what their actual expected batting average allowed should be,
Okay.
right? So, a lot of what I do is trying to find these things that say, hey, here's what you saw happen. Here's what you think of this player. But then here's what we are expecting to happen in the future if the bad variance and the bad run goes their way next time. So, a very kind of like an easy way to think about this, right? Um, if you have somebody who has a home run per fly ball rate, a home run per fly ball rate in MLB sits somewhere between 18 to 21%, depending on the year.
Okay.
And that's for pitchers. So if a pitcher over his last 5 games has, let's just give some hypotheticals here, has a fly ball rate of 100%, and he has not given up a single home run,
Yeah.
do you think that that's going to keep happening? I don't.
No.
Like he's gonna give up some home runs. And the thing about regression is a lot of people, and there have been studies on hot hand stuff, right? But I think that people have been looking at that the wrong way. What people
Yeah.
have been trying to find with the hot hand is like how often can somebody continue to ride the hot hand? But the question that people don't ask themselves enough is how long is somebody going to continue to be cold? And those are two sides of the same coin. And actually, I've found that it's a lot easier to predict when somebody is going to stop being cold rather than it is to predict how long they will stay hot.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
for something like when we think about regression, the thing about regression is over a long period of time, you're going to see a lot of peaks and valleys, right?
Yep.
That's the way that stats average out. And then at the end of it, you have 100 instances, you have a whole shit ton of peaks and valleys. And then at the end of it, you have the average, you have the median outcome. The thing about those peaks and valleys is that we know that the peak is eventually going to come down. We don't know how far it will come down. That's the thing. I'm not ever trying to predict how far it will come down, but I can tell you that it will come down. And I can tell you in a lot of the stats that I've built approximately how long it'll take until it starts to shoot back down, right? Like we know that there are certain dislocation factors. You can think of it a lot like day trading or like stocks. We know that, just to use a common term, like 200-day moving average. As soon as a stock hits that 200-day moving average, it's either going to go back up or it's going to shoot the fuck down, right? That's kind of a thing that happens in stocks, right? We can say a lot of the same things about sports. And when it comes to highly variant sports, things like hockey, things like baseball, things like, like MMA, like these very volatile, highly variant sports,
Yeah.
we know that regression is going to hit like a Mack truck. It doesn't happen just kind of slowly most of the time. A lot of the time it happens very abruptly. So that's the kind of thing that I specialize in, is looking at, okay, here's what, to your point, here's what the advanced stats say somebody should be doing, and here's what they have actually been doing, and how large is that delta? And if
Okay.
that delta is large enough, we know that it's going to ramp back up, and we know that it'll be a violent ramp back up. Like if, say in hockey, a
Yep.
goalie has given up like, a goalie has a 100% save rate over 6 games.
Yeah.
Like we know that every single goalie ends the season between an 89 and 93% save rate. Like that's just where goalies end up. So
Yep.
if somebody has a 100% save rate over 6 games, pretty soon they're going to get fucking shelled. And it's not their fault. It's not the fault of the defense. It's just like regression is going to hit them like a Mack truck, and one game they're just going to give up like 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah.
So being able to leverage that kind of stuff is where I make my money, and why people usually subscribe to PayDirt is that kind of regressional stuff.
Okay. And I could see that being a huge edge in daily fantasy because
Oh yeah.
especially if everybody's thinking, well, we're gonna ride the hot hand, he's just not cooling off, and you're like, looking at it, he's pretty due for it. Maybe pick up
Yeah.
someone else a little bit cheaper on the DFS side.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly right. So that's been my calling card, and it's been something that has. I leaned into it really heavy the first couple of years of PayDirt, and then I kind of looked at things. And after sports betting got legalized, in many many states, and I started trying to adapt my DFS models over into sports betting.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work as well. I mean, it was fine, but
Yeah.
like with sports betting, you have a very different proposition in terms of the way that you make money than a DFS. So in sports betting, you care a lot more about being accurate, or you care a lot more about being precise than accurate. In DFS, you want to be accurate, and it doesn't really matter how precise you are. So
Okay.
had to make some adjustments to those two things.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. That's way like I think that was a great explanation, especially like I said, for people who haven't checked out your site yet, but play any fantasy, daily fantasy, or do any of the sports betting stuff. I hope they listening to this have definitely got kind of an idea on what they can expect from checking that out. I do have some more questions, but before we go on, I do want to interject real quick. I don't have a particular sponsor, but I will throw up a link right here where you can click over and go to James's site. Got to point this way. Check him out. Follow my link. You can sign up. It supports him and it supports me. So win-win for everybody involved. And technically win-win-win because then you get access to all of these awesome models that he's been talking about building. So like I said at the beginning of the show, I don't ever expect that I'm going to jump into his models and make millions and millions of dollars. I just
Right.
don't see that ever happening. But the fact that I actually feel competitive when I play these again makes it a heck of a lot more enjoyable than when I'm just in last place every time because I can't help but throw a Bronco in there who is
Right.
not going to perform well.
Yo, Marvin
So
Mims this year, though. Marvin Mims this year. He's gonna do the thing for you.
I'm
Uh,
pretty hyped on Mims. I think he's gonna look good, and I think I'm. a little concerned about the sophomore slump for Knicks, but I don't think it's going to be as bad as some people think. And I think the offense is going to look decent, and that defense is going to carry a lot of this team. So I'm
I think
feeling,
Sean Payton is really good with young quarterbacks too. I think it'll
yeah.
be fine.
No, I think we're going to have a good season. I don't think we're going to be as good as some people are in Denver are predicting, win the AFC West and
Yeah.
all of that. There's a chance, but it's an outside chance. I think they're going to be a really solid team, though. But like I said, follow the link that's in the show notes. Go over, check out his site. You can also sign up for the Discord for free. There's all sorts of testimonials in there. There's all sorts of people talking about how great it is, and all sorts of like just an awesome community in general. I'm a particularly big fan of the one thread on your Discord that is the everyone talks about food too much. That's always a very enjoyable read too, and breaks up if you're like, I've read nothing but MLB things for 3 hours. Let's see what everybody's making for dinner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that channel and the politics channel, you can get entirely highs and entirely lows, baby. You can figure out, you can hate everything or stare at some pizza. I really
Yep.
do try to make it a place for people to just come not only for DFS. And one thing I wanted to echo really quick, um, Zach is right. Like, you're not going to come to PayDirt and end up making millions of dollars. I can't even guarantee that you'll be a profitable player. But what I can guarantee is that you'll be a better player than you were before you came over to PayDirt. That's the thing that I can promise. I can teach people how to play. I can teach people anything that they need to know about DFS. I'm very transparent, and I'll help people get better. So that's what I want to offer up, is a place to get better.
Well, and to build off that too, in the Discord, you're very active in there and
Oh yeah.
constantly interacting with people. So, and legitimately, because again, I know very little. I know a lot more now, but I knew very little.
Mm-hmm.
And again, always picking Broncos players, always picking Avs players, but being able to talk to not only you two, but everybody else in the community, it truly is like a really great place for people to interact and have. It never had necessarily a bad experience in there that I can think of. So it's awesome, awesome community you've built.
It is. It's the crown jewel. It's the crown jewel.
um, and then one other thing before we continue on to, if you guys have not seen yet, we still have some of these available. So, partnered with a pet shelter in just outside Commerce City called Paw Prince Pet Rescue. We do have our single barrel whiskey picks selection is available for you to get now with $100 donation to Paw Prince Pet Rescue. We will get you one of these as our gift to you for donating. So, link for that will be in the show notes too. I've got a video review of it up because that seemed fun and actually I really enjoyed doing it. And so check out that video too. Go donate, get yourself an awesome bottle of 10th Mountain whiskey, and sign up for PayDirt at the same time. And see if you can make your donation back, or at the very least, have fun playing DFS again because it is so much better than I had before I joined up with PayDirt. Because man, DFS used to kick my butt.
You haven't even gotten to do NFL season yet. You're gonna
No, I
love it. It's
haven't.
gonna be awesome.
I'm
Were
I'm
you
pretty
you
stoked
you were
about it.
around for NHL, right? A little bit.
Yeah, I jumped in around December, I think,
Yeah.
or maybe November, so I got the majority of the NHL season.
Yeah.
And it was really cool being able to talk with the people in the Discord and then like look at your models, see kind of how everything was going, and check that out through. Because like again, I just want to hammer on the Avs picks because big hometown guy, but being able to see all the other information, I mean, it's really cool seeing everything that you've got on there. So, um, definitely looking forward to the NFL season.
Oh yeah.
I got to imagine with NFL still really being king in the U.S. as far as the live action sports, the NFL has got to probably be one of your biggest influx of users, I would assume.
Oh yeah. I make about 40% of my revenue during NFL season. I
Okay.
want to say something pretty incredible. Last year, PayDirt was bringing in between 4,500 and 6,000 a month, gross during the MLB season. And then
Okay.
as soon as I get into NFL, it's 10,000, 11,000 a month or so.
Wow.
This year, I expect that to be higher during MLB season. We have consistently been in the $8,000 to $10,000 range in revenue.
Okay.
So I would love for that to translate to $16,000 to $20,000 a month for NFL. I don't know if that'll be the thing, but I would love for that to be a thing. We have grown a bit this year. We have started pushing some marketing a bit this year. So those are two main things. Been doing some big overhauls to the site, a lot of visual updates. I've been posting those in the Discord as well. So, but yes, NFL. That's when everyone makes their money, man. NFL's king. Got a million maker every week. Casuals enjoy it, right? Like casuals want to get their money down. Like
Yeah.
it truly is when everything comes to a head and when you got to make all your money. So, um, it's stressful. I'll say that. If you have a down NFL season, and it can be
Yeah.
stressful. Luckily, I don't want for anything at this point. Right, PayDirt is pretty good at providing for my family at this point, but um, it's stressful, especially with new tools that get built out. I mean, last year I introduced contest sims on a pretty regular, more secure platform and more robust platform, and so that was a big thing last year. And this year we'll be utilizing the portfolio manager a lot, which is another tool that I built that's third party, but it's built for managing and maintaining your lineups and finding the best lineups that you can use. And we can show that off at the end of this pod if you'd like to. I can show a little bit about that, but
Yeah, I'd love to.
um, there's that the most nerve wracking thing is not necessarily the monetary part of things. It's more the I need to make sure that I have a couple weeks where subscribers really hit big in order to maintain brand equity. There's this
Okay.
really interesting dynamic in the DFS industry that is if you're not able to show that your content or models or whatever is producing winners,
Yeah.
then your brand equity tanks, right? Like I can have the best models per the metrics. I can have the best ownership projections. I can have the best raw projections. I can have the best. I can have the best of all of these different things, right? But it
Yep.
doesn't matter if I don't have subscribers who are winning with it, right? So, one of the things that I have made a push for this year is creating tools that MME users can use. And that's what the portfolio manager is for mostly, is
Okay.
for people who are building 100 to 150 lineups for any given slate, right? PayDirt has mostly been a haven for single entry 3 max, 20 max players up until this year. And I'm hoping that this year we can break through and really appeal more to the super users. So,
Okay.
it'll be interesting. It's my first foray into trying to build things for MME users, so I'm excited to see how it goes. But that's really where any of the concern or fear or anxiety comes from, is just making sure that you have a couple weeks where your subscribers crush it so you can maintain brand equity and carry that brand equity into the other sports.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And do you usually see that like beginning of the season? Is it more, when do you think that window to have that your subscribers kind of really get their winnings? Is there a particular time, or is it just sort of when it happens?
When it happens is fine. You really hope that it happens between weeks like 3 and 8, I want to
Okay.
say. Week 1 is a crapshoot. Nobody
Yeah.
knows anything. You just kind of do whatever you want to do and like just hope that it works. Week 2 is overreaction central.
Yep.
So everything that everybody thought was true in week 1 is no longer true in week 2, and everybody does something different because week 1 in a 1 week sample, and now everything, rethink everything. So
Yep.
everybody always overthinks everything in week 2. So that week doesn't matter either. But week 3, I think, is where you can actually start saying, all right, here's kind of an understanding of what we have seen. We don't have actual signal yet, but at least we can rule out a lot of things, right? Like we
Yeah.
can rule out that this guy is going to be on the field that like unnotable amount of times, right? Like we can rule out that this defense is going to do this certain thing in these instances, right? Like we can rule out a lot of the outlier stuff and kind of start to focus. And then through week 9, week 7 is when we have enough information in the current season to start building projections with confidence without prior years. So
Okay.
I think that that's a big threshold. And week 9, obviously middle of the season, we start going into bye weeks.
Yep.
And attrition hits pretty hard in NFL once you hit about week 12. And then by week 14, I just stop playing.
Yeah.
Because you hit the end of the season and it's just like teams are beat to hell. Playoffs has started to matter. Tanking is going to start happening. Like all this kind of stuff just starts to kind of hit, and it's hard to quantify. It's hard to deal with.
Yeah.
So week 14 is kind of the cutoff for me. I kind of
Okay.
really drop my volume in week 15. So realistically, you hope for anywhere between like week 3 and 10. You want that because if you can have some good subscriber hits in those weeks, you can carry that momentum and you can say, hey, we got a lot of season left. But then after week 10, it's like we don't really have that much season left. We got 5 weeks or so. And then after week 15, it's like, all right, well, now we're fully focused on NHL and NBA, except for, people like to play playoffs for NFL as well, but that's less of my focus after about week 15. So
Yeah, and NFL playoff DFS is such a nightmare to me, I feel like, because there's something about the NFL playoffs, the one and done format. I love it. I think the NFL playoffs are a blast to watch.
yeah,
But my goodness, all it takes is just one off day for
yeah,
two guys on the field, and everything falls apart for that team. And then you
yeah,
don't get to move on.
yeah,
Or in the case of the Lions last year, you get 75 injuries on a
right.
53-man roster, and everything falls apart that way.
Yeah. Attrition is a
Then
bitch. It's the
then on the
worst.
flip side, you get the Broncos close or shutting out the Chiefs in the last week of the season. So woohoo, losing
Yeah,
streak over.
woo-hoo. I wish that it would have knocked the Chiefs just completely off. But it is what it is.
Yeah,
But what I just described is kind of like the basic idea of any NFL or of any DFS season, by the way. The first maybe 20% or so of the season, 15 to 20%,
yep,
that's it just is what it is. You don't really know anything. That middle, say 40 or 50%, that's when everything is good and dandy and you make all your money. And then the last 20% or so, I just the worst, especially
yeah.
for NBA, but for every sport. Like MLB in about, I don't know, 20 days is going to become something that I just want nothing to do with. Teams will just start tanking. Everyone is injured. There's pitch counts that we don't have anything to go off of. It's awful. All of the books by that point, like I won't be able to bet like any props. Earlier in the
Yeah.
season, I was able to get down 60 to 70 props on any given day. The last time I put down props 2 days ago, and I was only able to get 14. Like,
Wow.
can't get anything down because all the books have adjusted or taken out their markets. The last 20%, 25% of the season is it's really hard to make money in the last 20% of the season. So that's always my biggest tip to players is once we hit that last 20% of the season, unless you're one of the best players in the industry, just move on to whatever the next sport is. Take a couple weeks off, recharge, get on to the next sport.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I don't think
Yeah.
I ever would have thought of that. And that probably can really help a lot of people who think that they can, you know, ride, like you were saying earlier, ride that hot hand that you had in the middle of the season. Maybe it's time to just ride off into this season's
Yep.
sunset and move on.
Yep. Cool off. Just cool off,
Yep.
man. Because that last 20% from a DFS ecosystem standpoint, the only people that are playing that last 20% of the season are the best players in the industry,
Yep.
the people with a lot of money, the whales, or the people that will be paying them money that are people who are just not as good as they are, right? Like the player
Yeah.
pools shrink, and then it's just the best players and the people who they're preying on.
Yeah.
You don't want to be one of the people they're preying on. Like it's fine if you want to go head to head with them and trade money back and forth. Sometimes I feel the need to do that, but like for the most part, if you're not a positive ROI player, just move on, man. You don't need to pay the rake for those guys.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That's actually kind of really cool to think about. And I mean, just fits with watching any of the sports from not that analytics view that you have. But I definitely see the same thing. Like watching, especially we'll go Avs and Broncos because that's my two. First 2 weeks of the season, it was for the Broncos. It was like oh, everything still sucks. Nothing's gonna work. Bo Nix is terrible. He's gonna be another one and done season kid. That's it. And then all of a sudden it was, hey, he can play a little bit better. And then he
Yeah,
has a couple of wildly good games, and everything sort of kind of settles in. And then it gets to the end of the season where he gets some maybe inflated numbers against teams that just don't care anymore.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it is wild watching Avs fans because games 1 through 4 of an 82 game season are always the most important games, period. And if you go 0-4, God forbid, you're absolutely going to lose and you're not even going to make the playoffs, sell the whole team, it's over, just be done with it. But if you go 4-0, Oh, you put the mortgage on them winning the cup right then.
Oh
That's
yeah.
how it goes every year.
Yeah, well, I would compare that to the Rockies in baseball, but
Do the Rockies even know how to win a game? I'm not sure anymore.
they're on track to be, no hyperbole, the worst team in history
Yeah.
since the modern era of baseball. I
Yep.
put out a tweet, said they would absolutely crush the run differential record for worst team in the league.
Yeah.
I think they're on pace for like 400 runs under or something like that. It's truly heroic stuff
They
by a
just had
team.
a series that they lost the series like 45-3 or something,
Yeah,
including a
against Toronto.
20-1. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
Toronto's
20
not even
runs.
that good, man. The Rockies got shit canned by the Pirates.
Yeah.
Like, the Pirates are like, they put the P in poverty, man. Like they're a legitimately awful team. The
And
Rockies are just on another level of terrible. There needs to be relegation in baseball. You need to be able to be relegated because
I it would
we're
probably
running
be
on
good.
we're running on 5 years now of a team being so bad that it legitimately just like ruins the competitive nature of the game. We've
Well,
had
and
the
they don't.
Orioles a couple times, the Athletics, the White Sox, now the Rockies.
Yeah. Well, and the Rockies don't even get a top pick in the next draft. I mean, they got a high one this year, and they took a who I think should be a pretty good prospect. But like they can't pick high again unless they
Right.
finally break out of this slump. I like the only thing I can say is they did make a couple of trades that actually seemed semi-intelligent at the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna go with that's just fool's gold of hope right there because I can't imagine. I just don't see the team fixing it ever.
Look, the next time that you're on a podcast that talks about the Rockies, I'll come on and I'll talk for 3 hours straight. I don't think we have 3 hours for me to talk about how bad the Rockies are, but it's not great over there in Rocky Stadium. Not
It's
great.
not. But they still have the best rooftop bar in Denver. I didn't even
That
go this
four
year.
dollar
I
beers, baby. four
Yep,
dollar beers. I make that joke all the time. $4 beers.
that's what does it, man. I didn't even go this year though. I could not bring myself to buy a ticket even for the rooftop bar. It just
No,
wasn't going to happen. So,
can't support it.
um all right, I do want you to show the site. I want you to share some of the screen if you can and show me some of that. But before we do, just a little kind of quick exercise. I know you're not as big of a drinker, but the four major sports, how would you like what beverage would you pair them with? So, is baseball a specific type of whiskey? Is the NFL a specific beer or even just like do you want to pair beer to one of them? Pair all
Yeah.
four.
Yeah. Okay. All right. All right. So I don't think that the NFL is beer. I think hockey is beer, right?
Okay.
And the reason I say that, it feels more rugged, it feels more raw. And
Okay.
like I feel like personally, I look at beer as like a rugged, raw, like there's nothing dressed up about it. It's just kind of, there's no bells and whistles to beer. So I look at that the same way that I look at hockey. I don't think there's a lot of bells and whistles. Sometimes it gets rugged. Sometimes, people are fighting. You never see that really in the other four major sports. So I think NHL is beer, and specifically, I would say that it is Keystone Light, because that's
Interesting
what I
choice.
associate with the times that I actually went to hockey games, um, and got drunk in college. So that's what I associate with hockey. I think that I would probably say tequila is more in the realm of NFL. And the reason why
Okay. Ooh.
I say that because I have seen a lot more people make decisions that would ruin their lives at NFL games than any other sport. Like, and tequila will make you make decisions that will ruin your life. So I think that that's what I would say for that one.
Okay.
Um, baseball. Let's see, what would baseball be? I'm a wine guy, by the way. When I
Okay.
drink, it's usually wine. So because baseball is my favorite, I guess I could give it a wine, but I don't think that it would be my favorite kind of wine. I will say that. I think that it's probably more like a dry white than a stone fruit red. I like a Merlot. So
Okay.
a dry white I think makes more sense because honestly it can be kind of boring, but every once in a while there's a really really good dry white and you're like, "Man, why don't I drink this more often?" And then you drink it again and it's not that good anymore. So that's what I think about baseball.
I think that's
Um,
perfect. That's awesome.
yeah, I think that makes sense. And then NBA, I think if I'm going to give it to anything, it's probably going to be I could probably say vodka for that. I don't think does whiskey fit anything for you? I think it's got to be vodka for NBA because I think that kind of fits more of like the like it doesn't hit you until it hits you. NBA
Yeah,
games don't matter until the last like 7 minutes of the game. So I think that vodka it doesn't matter until that last shot, and then you're fucked. So
yeah.
that's how I looked at NBA. What sport
Okay.
associates for whiskey for you?
Oof. So I think I would actually go with hockey for whiskey. And the reason being is I think you still get a lot of that. I really liked your kind of rough around the
Yeah,
edges, all of that, not too dressed up. But I do think that hockey also carries I don't know, there's like a certain gravitas to it as well.
yeah,
Just with like the history of everything in the sport, the Stanley Cup being what it is, all of those pieces, I think is why I would go whiskey because you have those super high dressed up moments. You've got that crazy tippity top that's just that, one off, one and done, super nice whiskey. But then you can also just have the like, well, pour it from wherever, and nothing starts a fight in a bar like a bunch of shots of well whiskey. So if you're going to
terrific.
go into the penalty box for 5 minutes for fighting, it's probably because you had a few shots of whiskey to lead up to it. So I
I
think
think
that's
that's
where I'd put that one.
yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I think that's a good answer.
And I actually really like the tequila one too because I feel like the lows, like you said, you make some of the decisions, and even just on the field decisions, like
Yeah,
Coach Hackett, as we were talking about,
yeah.
are definitely seem like tequila induced decisions.
Like
But there's
you can't tell me that Antonio Brown didn't take off his shirt because he had too many shots of tequila, right? Like that absolutely was a tequila moment.
Yeah, 100% that was. But tequilas also have so many like super high end, expensive, exclusive ones,
Mhm,
which to me is
mhm.
like the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I'm never gonna go, and I'm never gonna get that $7,000 bottle of tequila
right.
because that's
But you
just
can
out of
appreciate
my
it.
realm. Yeah, 100% appreciate the heck out of it. Never gonna be able to purchase it. So, yeah, I think tequila fits really well there. I like that
Nice.
a lot, and I
I passed.
really like the wine for baseball. I think that's perfect.
Yeah, yeah. I as a wine guy and as baseball being my favorite sport, I think that fits.
Yeah,
Every once in a while, I'll do a dry white just because I'm like, man, I could try it. It's fine. It has good reviews. Like, how bad could it be? 50-50 on if it's terrible. A
yeah.
dry white is like the highest or the lowest. But yeah, that's my rankings. That's my rankings for each one.
I like that. Perfect. I absolutely crushed it. So, yeah, let's see if you can share your screen. I'm
Sure.
not as new with stream or as good with StreamYard, but if you can share that up,
Oh, but I got it. I'm good on
bam,
StreamYard.
you do.
Yeah, we use
So,
StreamYard
head to
for the shows
stage.
over at PayDirt too. So
Oh, perfect. Yeah, most of my shows end up being in person, so I haven't used it too much, but I'm really appreciating what it does. So,
yeah.
this is James's site. I will let him speak to it from here.
Yeah. So this is the homepage. I don't spend a lot of time here, but if you wanted to go through and see kind of like how things work, we have some nice graphics. We have a video of me doing a discussion over the NFL models, demo model, and then some subscription options, some testimonials, stuff like that. The main stuff that you're going to be looking through here is up here, right? So we have models for all the different sports that we offer. The main ones are usually up at the top. So pretty soon, NFL is going to be back up here at the top. Um, but we have, all the different sports here. We have a couple different research models as well. The main research models that we have are going to be for MLB and NBA, but I plan on adding some more of these once I'm done building out main models.
Nice.
Information stuff about us. This is the link in the Discord, like Zach was talking about. You come and hang out with us. I also have a business to business catalog for those that are interested in doing that kind of stuff. And then a
Awesome.
contact us and a blog and subscription options and a newsletter. But the thing that people mostly care about here is going to be the models. So show off a little bit of what we've got going on for NFL season here pretty soon. I did just redo a whole bunch of the models, so a little bit of a facelift here. But this is what you're going to be seeing. So there's going to be a whole bunch of different things here. You're going to have play range of outcomes. This actually is optimized for mobile as well.
Oh,
I can't
sweet.
show mobile because we're on StreamYard and I'm just showing the whole thing. But
Yep.
the difference would be if you were on mobile, it defaults to simple. If you wanted to see all the advanced stats, you can go advanced. And then it'll show you a whole lot of different stuff too, right? It'll show you metrics for floor, median, ceiling, finishing percentiles, um, salary threshold stuff, ownership, all that fun stuff. You can see a whole bunch of different filters here. You can drop down and see different slates, all this fun information. You can see by stacks, right?
Okay.
So stack of Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Jameson Williams currently projects the highest at a median of 45 fantasy points. All of this information, I won't go like fully into all this stuff, but this is the basic idea of the models. Is you're going to have a range of outcomes model. You're going to have a hand builder model, which allows you to hand build your lineups using, the models that are here. If you click on a player, then it'll insert them over here. You can build out full lineups. And then you'll have an optimal sheet. And this is all of the optimal lineups that you can use based on some models that I've built in the back end that just build millions upon millions of lineups, and then they just feed into this.
Nice.
But that's kind of the basic idea for most of the baseline models. You're also going to get some other things. You're going to get betting models. You're going to get the pivot finder, stack finder. You'll get betting models for each sport as well. So if we want to go over and look at the betting models for MLB, because these are built out, I'm building out for NFL this week, but you'll be able to see game betting models. So macro stuff, you'll be able to see player level. So MLB has pitcher and hitter specific stuff, which is going to tell you all of your different stats. You'll be able to do prop simulations. So if you wanted to see, if the over for 5.5 strikeouts for Taijuan Walker was a good bet at, let's say, 125, you can set this up. You can go back over and simulate the prop out. And it'll show you some cool graphics about, if that's a good bet or not. It's prop 5% of the time. Model suggests no bet, but, do whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
A lot of different things that you can see. So this is kind of the way that you should expect most of the stuff on the site to work. If you wanted to go over also and check out the Discord obviously is terrific. It's lively. We have sports channels for all the different sports, including some things that I don't ever post to, like Olympics.
Oh,
A
sweet.
lot of different like lifestyle and interest channels as well. Random trading cards. There's update feeds. Just a really good time. So if you have any questions about the models, obviously feel free to come over and hang out with me in the Discord, or hit me up on Twitter if that's a place you like to hang out. But I answer questions all day in the Discord as well. So if that's what you would like to do, is ask me questions about the models, or if you're interested in how anything works. I like talking about how I actually build models. I like talking about the things that go into them. I have a tech questions and suggestions channel where I talk about all of the different updates that I'm making to the models. So it's just a good environment to learn how to play DFS and to figure out what you should be doing each individual day.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate you showing that. Tell everybody where they can find you on social medias and stuff. Where can they follow you? Obviously, the Discord off the site. You said you're on Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the best place to find me is going to be in the Discord, honestly. I deleted Twitter off my phone because I fucking hate that place. But
Yeah, it's bad.
I get on there on my desktop because when I'm working, I have it up over here.
Yep.
So, I mean, I'm on it. You can follow me over there on PayDirt_DFS, which is here.
Right here. Yep.
And you can also find all my stuff over at PayDirtDFS.com. Make sure to use Zach's link. And if you need direct access to me, hit me up in the Discord. I was happy to answer questions.
Yeah, and I can attest to the fact that James is very active in that Discord and very happy to answer questions. So you will be sure to get some good information that way.
Yeah.
Well, James, this has been awesome. I've learned a lot more than I knew even about it, even though I've been in the Discord now for 7-8 months. So this has been, geez, 9 months. Holy cow, time goes by. Also, you said you've been running this for 5 years, man. I didn't realize it had already been 5 years.
Yep.
That is pretty crazy. So, really awesome. Again, thank you so much for joining. If you guys like the show, if you've been enjoying it, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, give us a rating on Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen, subscribe to us on there. All of those things greatly help the show to grow and help me to continue doing cool conversations like this and learning more and more about different people who are doing some cool stuff. Even if James isn't in Colorado currently, still started in Colorado, so we're counting it as Colorado craft as it is. So, always happy to have some conversations like this. Give me a follow as well on social medias. I am probably a little more active on Twitter because I do seem to get the fastest stuff for whiskey releases and sports information on there still. Instagram just doesn't match it, and
Yeah.
Instagram's threads, Twitter replacement is still not there.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Pretty active on all those though. Just find me at Mile High Bourbon on any of those platforms. Give me a follow. Check us out at milehighbourbon.com. And if you head over to milehighbourbon.com/shop, you can purchase some really cool glassware. I've got some ones like this one that I'm sipping out of right now. I've got a new coffee mug that should be available here pretty soon. I'm pretty stoked for, and possibly some other merch coming as well. And then, of
Nice.
course, you can still get our single barrel select. Went up and selected this one with Paw Prince Pet Rescue from 10th Mountain Distillery in Vale. Really, really awesome bottle. Super thrilled to have that available too. So, one last shout out to Roma Ransom, who was awesome enough to record the intro and outro music that we use for every podcast. And James, once again, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and can't wait to see you in the Discord as soon as I pop on there, probably right after we hit stop recording.
Cool. All right. It's been a good one.
Awesome. Cheers, man. Have a great night, everyone.